It is nice for a change to not talk about IEMs, headphones, or even DAC amp, or even dongles, or DAP, because today I'm going to be talking about this very special headphone, which is Distant Mountain, a retro over-the-ear headphone from Technics, or known as Roseselsa. So let's just have a look at the build and the construction of this Distant Mountain. It reminded me a lot to the old days of COS Pota Pro, which was so very popular. The design itself and everything, yes, it reminded me a lot to that Pota Pro. But instead of, the difference is that this thing is entirely made of steel. Have a look at the headband here. It is narrow like this and springy. And of course, this is how you wear it. Okay, putting it like this. And I would need to adjust the ear pad here because it is supra-aural, which means that it sits on my ear lobes. And finding the right alignment is very important because you don't want it to overlap your earlobe at the back here. And you would notice here, okay, look very closely, there is a gap because the ear cup here does not pivot like that. It is just simply flat because that is part of the design. The design of the sound tuning itself, it is intended to be very open sounding. I did thought of doing something like, bending it a bit so that it will be a bit more pivoting towards the front, but then again I thought myself, maybe if I do that it might actually affect the sound, so it is no longer sounding like how it was supposed to be. So I ended up getting used to this, and surprisingly, despite the clamp and everything, this thing is actually quite comfortable once I was able to find the right position for it. Of course, this thing being open back, it means that you're gonna hear everything around you. It is part of the design. It is part of the intention for this Distant Mountain that you can use this and you can still hear everything around you. And on top of it, the good thing is that surprisingly, despite being open back, when I crank the volume to the maximum on my phone here, when attached to my phone like this, which is Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV, okay, surprisingly, it does not leak out sound that very much. So you can still hear a lot of sound, but you are not leaking that much of sound yourself. The 40mm dynamic driver inside this Distant Mountain is surprisingly easy to drive. Rated at 32 ohm and with a good sensitivity of 115 dB and above, I was already enjoying the kind of output which I'm getting when attached directly to my phone here from the 3.5mm single-ended termination like this, and this definitely very enjoyable. However, it does scale really well, especially when I detach the stock cable here, which is MMCX by the way, like this. Okay, and I actually use some of my IEM cable which use 4.4mm balance and attach it to this super powerful iBasso DX340. And now literally I am hearing the true potential of this Distant Mountain because the dynamic driver inside here scales really well with power. It is an improvement that I would even say better, at least up to 30% at the very least, from what I am hearing from this Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV. So feed this with power, you're gonna really enjoy it. Every inch of Distant Mountain comes equipped the stock cable with an inline microphone that you see here. Sorry if I'm causing any kind of microphonic noises that you are hearing now. Just gonna put it there. Okay, so you are actually listening to me right now directly via this microphone. You be the judge whether this is good or not good. I think this should be quite impressive. And on top of it, it is recording directly to my OBS software here without any kind of modification or enhancement or any kind of active noise cancellation. So how is it? Good or not good? You let me know. As for the sound itself, I would consider this Distant Mountain as being a strong V sound curve. Strong because there's prominent boosting in the upper frequency, prominent boosting in the lower frequency, and also even prominent boosting in the mid-range, to a point that I might even consider this as the blue sound curve rather than just a traditional V. Why? Because I do hear the kind of mid-range which is very frontal, especially when there's some female vocal or even male vocal for technical jazz or even blues music especially, I am literally hearing that the singer is standing very close to me. So it gives the kind of immersion, richness to the presentation of the mid-range itself. So if you love vocal, if you love instrument which is a bit more frontal to you, then this is definitely one of those headphones which you would like to try. And of course, when it comes to the upper frequency itself, it is sparkly, it is energetic, but non-offensive. The good thing is that I am not hearing any kind of upper frequency or upper mid-range kind of pina gain or that offensive sibilance all the way to the treble region. It does extend surprisingly really well, especially when I use it with this iBasso DX340 here, to a point that I would even be surprised to hear some micro detail on the upper frequency. And when it comes to the lower frequency, this thing is just simply beautiful, especially with the mid bass itself. The kind of mid bass which is super suitable for rock and metal music, for blues music, even for jazz music, or even for electronic music, because the sub bass is also very well extended. It is smooth, it is engaging, it is fast for a dynamic driver. So definitely no issue at all. In fact, I would even say that, you know, the overall tuning, the way it presents the pace, rhythm and timing, this is fast sounding, almost like a magnetic planar, but with the kind of timbre which you can expect from traditional, very well tuned dynamic driver. And of course, last but not least, being open back, this thing you can expect wide open soundstage, airy as it is wide and open sounding, and also tall. If you like what you're hearing, what you're seeing, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. And also please take a moment to click like here. It will really help me out. It is free, by the way. And also please follow me on Instagram, which I have set up very recently. My Instagram will be a platform for me to provide quick updates on the things that I do beyond this video. And again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.